unlock your world one word at a time, because language isn't just about learning, it's about living. Let's get started. Wonderful listeners, welcome to a groundbreaking episode of the Languages Pedagogy podcast, where we unravel the intricacies of language teaching and learning, celebrate the diversity of educators, and confront the biases that hold us back. Today, we're tackling a topic that's long overdue for a deep and honest conversation. Does Passport define pedagogy? Challenging the industry norms. At the heart of this question lies a troubling reality. In much of the language education industry, a teacher's nationality often overshadows their qualifications, skills, and experience. How often have you seen job postings that specify native speakers only? Or heard statements like, "We need a teacher with a British or American accent"? Non-native teachers are great, but students prefer natives. These biases aren't just unfair, they're damaging. They limit opportunities for passionate, qualified educators, reduce quality of language education, and perpetuate harmful stereotypes. This episode is an invitation to challenge these norms. Over the next several minutes, we'll explore the historical and cultural roots of nationality bias in language education, which we actually covered a little bit more in previous episodes. Why the myth of the native speakers as the ideal teacher persists and why it's flawed. The real qualities that make a teacher effective. First-hand stories from non-native teachers who have faced rejection, discrimination, and marginalization. The impact of these biases on learners, schools, and the global education system. Actionable strategies for dismantling these outdated norms and creating a more equitable, inclusive, and merit-based system. So, whether you're a teacher, a student, an administrator, or someone who believes in equity and fairness, this episode is for you. Let's dive deep, challenge assumptions, and envision a future where pedagogy isn't defined by passports.
Audio Jungle.
And let's begin by asking a fundamental question. Why does nationality carry so much weight in the language teaching industry? To understand this, we need to explore the historical roots of this bias. And this is something that we already covered in one of the episodes, but we're going to just take a little bit more in here. For centuries, language teaching was deeply tied to colonialism. Colonial powers like Britain, France, and Spain didn't just impose their language on the regions they created systems that positioned their languages and the people who spoke them natively, a symbol of power and prestige. In colonial schools, native speakers of the colonial language were seen as the ultimate authorities, regardless of their teaching ability. This legacy created a lasting association between nativeness and teaching excellence. Fast forward to today, and these biases remain deeply ingrained. Many job postings in language schools still specify that applicants must be native speakers of English, French, or another widely taught language. These requirements are often justified by the claim that students prefer native speakers, a claim rooted in outdated stereotypes rather than evidence. But let's pause and reflect. What actually makes a great teacher? Is it where they're from, or is it something deeper? The idea that native speakers make better teachers is one of the most pervasive myths in language education. But when we break it down, this belief doesn't hold up to scrutiny. Here's why. 1. Teaching is a skill, not a birthright. Speaking a language fluently is not the same as teaching it effectively. Great teaching requires understanding, pedagogy of course, learning styles, and how to break down complex concepts into manageable parts. These skills are developed through training and experience, not by being born into a language. 2. Empathy and insight. Non-native teachers bring a unique perspective to the classroom because they've been language learners themselves. They understand the challenges students face and can offer practical strategies to overcome them. 3. Cultural sensitivity. Non-native teachers often have a deeper understanding of their students' cultural backgrounds, making them better equipped to connect with learners and address their specific needs. 4. Experience matters. A non-native teacher with years of experience and formal training is far more effective than a native speaker with no qualification. And let's start with a personal story here. Layla is an English teacher from Morocco with a master's degree in applied linguistics and CELTA certifications and a whole bunch of others. Despite her qualification, she's been turned down for multiple teaching positions in Europe. Also, in China, in South Korea, in Japan, most Asian countries. Layla shared, "I've had students tell me that I'm the best teacher they've ever had. But when I apply for jobs, I'm often rejected because my accent isn't native enough. It's heartbreaking to be judged on something that has no bearing on my ability to teach." And what's the real cost of nationality bias? This bias doesn't just hurt teachers. It has far-reaching consequences for students, institutions, and the broader education system. First, for students, when schools prioritize native speakers, they often hire teachers who lack formal training. This compromises the quality of education students receive. Second, for schools, by narrowing their hiring criteria, schools miss out on talented educators who could bring diverse perspective and innovative methods to the classroom. Third, for teachers, non-native teachers face constant rejection, lower pay, and fewer opportunities. Many are forced to overcompensate, working twice as hard to prove their worth. Fourth, for the education system, this bias perpetuates inequality, reinforces its stereotypes, and limits the diversity of voices in language education. And now, the emotional impact of these biases is profound. Many non-native teachers report feeling. First, the imposter syndrome. We talked about it already in the previous episode. Constantly questioning their abilities because of external judgment. Burnout. Exhaustion from having to prove themselves repeatedly. Isolation. Feeling unsupported and undervalued in their profession. So, how do we challenge these norms? The good news is that change is possible, but it requires collective effort, as you all know for sure. For schools and institutions, they need to revise hiring policies to focus on qualifications and experience. Provide training on unconscious bias to hiring managers. For students and parents, challenge assumptions about what makes a good teacher. Focus on results, not stereotypes. For non-native teachers, advocate for yourself and your peers. Highlight your successes and share your stories. For policymakers, develop visa and immigration policies that prioritize skills and qualifications over nationality. A vision of the future. What is it? Imagine a world where a teacher passport is relevant. A world where schools hire educators based on their ability to inspire, guide, and teach effectively. A world where diversity is celebrated, not sideline it. This isn't just a dream. It's a goal we can achieve if we work together. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Remember, the future of language learning is in your hands. Literally in your hands. Don't forget that new episodes drop every Monday and Friday, so make sure to tune in weekly for your dose of thought-provoking conversations. You can find our show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Don't forget also to pay a visit to our website, mikeenglishonline.com, where you're going to find tons of resources for your daily learning or teaching. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and follow us for more. And yes, we just got to the end. Thank you for spending this time with me today. My hope is that this episode has inspired you to challenge the biases that hold us back and to envision a future where pedagogy, not nationality, defines excellence in teaching. Until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and remember, teaching is about connection, not citizenship.